timing of his visit comes at a moment when the canal project is under serious threat. Roosevelt believes that the only way to re-inspire the public and to inspire Congress that this project can be completed is to go there in person.
Mexico is building a huge 300-mile shipping corridor between two oceans, and the real reason behind it is far more surprising than it seems. This project isn't just about moving ships faster. It hides a deeper purpose that could shift how trade works across entire regions. One part of this plan, often overlooked, could even change how major companies deal with global delays. What exactly is Mexico preparing for? And why now? The answers lead to a much bigger story still unfolding. The corridor's core purpose. The heart of Mexico's 300-mile shipping corridor lies in its ambition to create a faster, more flexible alternative to the Panama Canal and other traditional maritime routes. As global trade continues to grow, bottlenecks and delays at key choke points strain the flow of goods, pushing companies to seek new efficiencies. This corridor promises a game-changing shortcut, straddling Mexico's southern landmass to reduce transit times for massive container ships traveling between the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. It's not just about saving hours at sea, but reshaping how goods move across the Americas and beyond. While the Panama Canal has served as the gateway between oceans for over a century, its finite size and capacity increasingly limit the volume and size of ships it can handle. The canal's expansions have helped, but congestion and rising toll fees remain challenges, especially as trade between Asia and the eastern United States surges. Mexico's corridor aims to address these constraints by offering a land-based, multimodal solution combining rail, road, and port facilities that can handle the biggest modern vessels indirectly and shuttle cargo faster. Overland, beyond transit speed, this corridor introduces flexibility into shipping logistics. Unlike rigid canal transit times, land transport can adjust to demand fluctuations and operate under varied weather and geopolitical conditions. This adaptability is critical, given recent disruptions in global supply chains, as seen during the COVID-19 pandemic and the Suez Canal blockage in 2021.
Now it's one of the world's most important shipping routes, and it's blocked. A giant container ship ran aground in the Suez Canal.
Mexico's vision is to become a pivotal hub that adds resilience and alternative pathways for ocean freight. One major goal, among others, is to promote economic growth by turning the southern parts of Mexico into an area where the population gets better access to the services and the economy is developed compared to the northern industrial zones. The corridor is going to be the center of attraction for different investments, manufacturing, and logistics, supporting job creation and boosting local economies. This progress makes a direct connection between Mexico's internal expansion ambitions and the larger transitions in global supply chain strategies. The corridor also supports the country's strategic goals. Taking over an important trade route, Mexico not only improves its geopolitical power, but also gradually increases its participation in international trade negotiations. It makes competition with countries and routes next door that are already well established, hence pushing the maritime sector to upgrade and innovate. This assertiveness in developing infrastructure is indeed part of the plans for economic sovereignty and diversification. This daring initiative not only, but also opens up a world of questions that are fascinating. Is it possible that a land corridor would be able to rival in any aspect a natural waterway integrated with one of the most important international trade flows? What would be the reaction of global shipping lines to this new route? The responses are still somewhat hypothetical, but are expected to be quite spectacular as they will be revealed gradually over the years to come. The fate of the corridor is reliant on flawless coordination and management of ports, railways, highways, and customs operations, which will have to work together perfectly. Some initial success has shown that Mexico is up to the challenge by pouring in billions of dollars and introducing modern logistics technologies to make the dream come true. However, due to the enormity of the project and the numerous hurdles it has to overcome, a feeling of eagerness and suspense is created. With this core purpose in mind, the geographical realities below the surface become essential in understanding why Mexico is uniquely positioned to pull off this feat. Geographic advantages. Mexico's geography is a powerful catalyst for this corridor's potential success, granting it natural advantages few other countries can claim. The country's southern isthmus, the narrow land strip between the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico, provides an ideal location for an interoceanic route. This relative narrowness of land reduces construction challenges compared to longer overland routes elsewhere, allowing the corridor to bridge the continents efficiently. The isthmus region features a blend of flat terrains, river valleys, and coastal plains, which, despite some rugged areas, offer viable paths for rail and highway infrastructure. This terrain is less mountainous than the rest of Mexico and Central America, easing the logistical complexity of building and operating a continuous corridor for heavy freight. Having a natural low pass between oceans is a foundational geographic asset for Mexico's vision. Also significant is the proximity to two major ports on either coast: Salina Cruz on the Pacific side and Coatzacoalcos near the Gulf of Mexico. Both ports have historical importance and existing deep water capacity, making them natural anchors for this corridor. Mexico's investment is focused on expanding and modernizing these facilities to handle vastly increased freight volumes and accommodate the largest container ships in the world. Location matters geopolitically too. The corridor places Mexico at the crossroads of burgeoning trade flows between Asia, the Americas, and Europe. Positioned closer to the United States Gulf and East coasts than Pacific shipping routes, the corridor could shave days from deliveries. This appeals especially to industries relying on just-in-time supply chains, where every hour saved translates into cost and competitive advantage. Mexico's position ensures better weather forecasting than some of the maritime routes. Storms, droughts, or tectonic activities can occasionally cause disruptions in the canal routes, which may last for some time. The land route, which is backed by modern facilities, can really ensure uninterrupted transport consistently throughout the year, as it is not affected by the ocean conditions, such as heavy fog or ship traffic jams. Moreover, the corridor takes advantage of Mexico's current free trade agreements with more than 40 countries, thus providing easy and fast customs and regulatory frameworks that support the trade of goods across borders. The geographic benefit is assisted by political and economic relations throughout the hemisphere, which can create and distribute the demand more rapidly than isolated corridors. The region, however, still has some natural challenges like seismic activity, floods, and strong winds, trickling down to the development of robust engineering solutions that are robust. Besides, environmental assessments and land use planning form an ongoing process that is essential for sustaining the corridor's resilience. Mexico is geographically located in a way that presents a chance, and at the same time, it will be a test for the country to manage and bear the natural risks. With geography establishing the corridor's foundation, the next critical layer is the innovative infrastructure and technology, turning these geographic advantages into operational reality. Infrastructure and technology. Building a 300-mile interoceanic corridor requires a massive, sophisticated infrastructure network combining ports, railways, highways, and logistics hubs. Mexico is sparing no expense in integrating these components with modern engineering and cutting-edge technology to meet the demanding schedules, volumes, and security standards. Global shipping requires this is not simply a transportation link, it's a high-tech supply chain ecosystem. Both terminal ports are undergoing extensive expansion and modernization. Salina Cruz and Coatzacoalcos have received billions in upgrades, including new deep-water berths capable of handling ultra-large container vessels and specialized cranes for rapid loading and unloading. These ports are being equipped with state-of-the-art tracking and automation systems, improving efficiency and transparency for shippers and customs officials. Central to the corridor's overland transport is a dedicated freight railway stretching the length of the land bridge. This rail line will transport containers quickly and reliably between the two coasts, backed by high-capacity locomotives and redesigned tracks to support heavier and longer trains. Automation and digital control systems are being integrated into the rail network to optimize scheduling and reduce delays. Road infrastructure complements rail transport, providing flexibility and last-mile connections to industrial zones, warehouses, and manufacturing clusters emerging along the corridor. Mexico is upgrading highways and building logistics parks, aiming to generate seamless, multimodal transport options. This flexibility allows cargo owners to choose the best combination of rail and truck transport, depending on time, cost, and destination needs. Advanced technology plays a key role in corridor operations. Real-time cargo tracking, automated customs processing, and integrated digital platforms enable expedited border clearance and supply chain visibility. Such systems reduce paperwork, bottlenecks, and cost inefficiencies that have long plagued international shipping. Sustainability is factored into the design as well. Electric locomotives, optimized routes, and green port technologies aim to reduce the environmental footprint. The project's planners envision a corridor that can support high volumes without replicating the pollution and energy waste characteristic of older, less efficient transport methods. Workforce development and smart logistics management are also priorities, with Mexico investing in training programs and adopting global best practices from leading logistics hubs. This human and technological capital is as critical as physical infrastructure for ensuring the corridor's smooth, resilient operations. Still, building such an integrated system comes with challenges, including securing funding, coordinating between federal and local governments, and mitigating disruptions during construction. Yet, the determination to blend infrastructure and technology is emblematic of how Mexico views this corridor, as both a national flagship and a global game-changer. This ambitious effort is rapidly transforming a geographic advantage into a functional, competitive corridor that global shipping interests cannot ignore. And as the infrastructure takes shape, so too does the potential to shift oceans of commerce and commerce itself. The ripple effects on global trade patterns stretch beyond borders and oceans, inviting us to imagine new maps of economic flow and influence. Impact on global trade. Mexico's new shipping corridor holds the potential to rewrite the established routes that have governed global maritime trade for over a century.
Mexico still has a lot of work to do to get its ports ready for an influx in traffic.
Traditionally, vessels traveling between Asia and the east coast of the United States rely heavily on the Panama Canal, a strategic choke point that, despite expansions, faces physical limits and congestion. By offering a land-based alternative, Mexico introduces a new dynamic that could significantly relieve the canal's bottlenecks and reshape shipping timelines. The corridor shortens transit times by allowing cargo to be offloaded on one coast, transported overland, and reloaded on the opposite shore, cutting days from voyages that can last weeks. This accelerated pace offers shippers considerable savings in fuel, port fees, and inventory costs. Industries dependent on just-in-time delivery stand to gain the most, as faster transit reduces storage needs and supply chain uncertainties. Beyond time savings, the corridor challenges the Panama Canal's pricing power. Canal tolls have risen steadily, reflecting demand and maintenance costs, sometimes pushing shipping companies to seek alternative, cost-effective routes. Mexico's corridor, by leveraging a combination of rail and road logistics, promises competitive pricing structures that may attract carriers looking to optimize margins and reduce exposure to canal delays. Further, this interoceanic route lessens dependence on vulnerable maritime routes prone to climate disruptions, geopolitical tensions, or accidents, such as the 2021 blockage of the Suez Canal.
Along with the Suez Canal, it's probably the most famous artificial waterway on the planet. It cuts through the Isthmus of Panama.
By diversifying options, the corridor enhances resilience and flexibility in global supply chains, a critical advantage in a world where disruptions are increasingly frequent and costly. Additionally, it creates a scenario where the operations of ports situated on both coasts of Mexico have to compete with each other. The modernization of the Pacific and Gulf ports has led to the creation of competition among the ports, which is done through the enhancement of their infrastructure and customs efficiency, thus attracting more traffic. The whole scenario of competition in the ports leads to an increase in the number of innovations and investments, which in turn results in the provision of better services and increased connectivity in the logistics ecosystem. The impact of the corridor is not just limited to the North American trade, but also shifts towards other parts of the world. It saves the Asian exporters a considerable amount of time to reach the eastern U.S. and parts of South America, thus possibly changing the direction of the goods that have been moving through longer sea routes. On the other hand, the Mexican and U.S. manufacturers can get to the Asian markets quickly, which would lead to an increase in trade between the two countries and result in the integration of the regions. The corridor will not act as a decoy for the Panama Canal overnight, though. Miami Canal still takes care of bulk and specialty freight, where the movement to land corridor is not so practical. Nevertheless, the transfer to a small extent through the Mexican corridor has cascading effects. It contributes to the reduction of congestion and hence increases efficiency of the canal, especially for the remaining users. Passing this route for global shipping alliances and logistics firms is still challenging. It will take time before the shipping companies will trust the route for its reliability, customs procedures, and the integration of the infrastructure. The volume of freight at the start and the success of the pilot operations will be the main indicators that the corridor can live up to these high operational expectations. To put it in a wider context, the Inter-Ocean Corridor of Mexico is a clear indicator of a changing global maritime strategy, where land-based intermodal logistics gradually become the best alternative or complement to ocean transport, resulting in a multifarious network that is able to deliver the goods faster, cheaper, and more predictably. The corridor is not only a game-changer for global trade patterns, but also a catalyst for Mexico's domestic economy, promising substantial gains that go far beyond infrastructure. Economic boost for Mexico. This corridor is already being viewed as a transformational engine for Mexico's economy, especially for regions long limited by geographic and infrastructural challenges. The project promises to bring industrialization, job creation, and investment flows to southern states such as Oaxaca, Veracruz, and Chiapas, regions historically overshadowed by Mexico's northern economic powerhouses. This development aims to bridge regional disparities and foster more inclusive growth. Construction alone is generating tens of thousands of direct and indirect jobs, spanning from heavy infrastructure labor to specialized roles in logistics, engineering, and technology. These employment opportunities extend to ancillary sectors, including hospitality, retail, and transportation services, boosting local business ecosystems and improving regional living standards. Once operational, the corridor will attract manufacturing industries keen to capitalize on the fast, low-cost shipping link. Multinational companies are eyeing Mexico as a hub for nearshoring, driven by rising costs in Asia and a desire to secure supply chains closer to the United States market. The corridor provides a logistical backbone that aligns perfectly with these industrial shifts. The corridor also stimulates foreign direct investment, with billions poured into port expansions, railway upgrades, and logistics parks. This influx not only modernizes physical infrastructure, but also enhances Mexico's international image as a competitive trade and logistics hub. The resulting economic activity contributes to government revenues through taxes and customs duties, enabling reinvestment in social and economic programs. Local entrepreneurs and small businesses stand to benefit too, especially those integrated into supply chains as service providers or suppliers. The corridor's growth fosters opportunities for Mexican firms to offer warehousing, trucking, equipment maintenance, and customs brokerage, spreading wealth across the region. Improved connectivity also opens avenues for education and skills development, vital for sustaining long-term economic prosperity. Workforce training programs tailored to logistics, technology, and port management are becoming a priority, creating a more qualified labor pool ready to meet global operational standards. Besides providing new jobs, the corridor also strengthens Mexico's position in the manufacturing sector compared to other countries in the region. The shipping times and costs have been drastically lowered, which made the Mexican products more appealing in the world markets, thereby supporting the industrial growth and exports. Hence, the differential can be translated into the diversification and resilience of the economy at a larger scale. Urban development is one of the main phenomena caused by the corridor's economic growth, as the towns and cities that are situated along the route are getting larger and more modernized in terms of infrastructure. These urban centers not only become dynamic commercial areas that are able to support the quality of life of the residents, but also the management of growth through smart planning is necessary. Even with the great possibilities, there are still hardships like making sure the benefits are inclusive, not harming the environment, and reducing the social impacts. The government's capability to control these factors will be the key to the long-term success of the transformation of infrastructure into a real economic uplift. Mexico's plan to be a major trade center is illustrated by the corridor, which is a part of a more profound concept. Using the modernized transportation network, not only for goods, but also for the country's development in a globalized and therefore connected world. From this surge in economic promise, the conversation naturally moves toward balancing growth with ecological responsibility, ensuring the corridor's impact respects the environment while fostering prosperity. Environmental considerations. The construction and operation of Mexico's interoceanic shipping corridor brings significant environmental challenges that demand careful management. Spanning diverse ecosystems, from coastal wetlands to tropical forests, the corridor's footprint affects habitats home to countless species, some endangered. Protecting biodiversity while developing such a massive infrastructure project requires rigorous environmental assessments and mitigation strategies that balance growth with conservation. One major concern involves the impact on mangroves and wetlands along both coasts, vital ecological buffers that support fisheries and protect against storm surges. Disruption to these areas risks not only wildlife loss, but also increased vulnerability to flooding and erosion. Mexican authorities and environmental groups have pushed for reforestation efforts, habitat restoration, and strict construction controls to limit damage. Water quality is another area of focus. Increased port activity and inland transport raise risks of pollution through fuel spills, runoff, and waste discharge. Effective wastewater treatment, spill prevention protocols, and monitoring programs are being implemented to reduce contamination in river basins and coastal waters connected to the corridor. The designers of the corridor are also making it a priority to decrease greenhouse gas emissions as well as to reduce air pollution. The use of electric or low-emission trains, cleaner equipment at the ports, and better coordinated logistics may cut down the carbon footprint when compared to sea transport around Central America. The adoption of these sustainability measures is very important because Mexico is not only trying to comply with the global climate commitments, but also catering to the increasing necessity for cleaner supply chains. The noise generated by the rail and port activities being increased in volume is a problem for both land and water animals. To reduce the impact on wildlife and to prevent changes in their behavior and migration patterns, Mexico is making use of less noisy technologies and noise barriers in the areas where wildlife corridors overlap with the infrastructure. Community engagement is a key factor in environmental management, which entails the participation of residents in the decision-making processes. The indigenous people and the rural communities concerned with land use and the environment have become the reason for the collaboration instead of the imposition. This way of collaborating assures that the development is in harmony with both human and natural communities. Mexico's declaration of sustainability, however, cannot be considered an easy task, as it will require being very good at balancing between environmental protection and the rapid development of infrastructure. A wrong step could lead to a situation where the company gets backlash, or there are delays, or they need to take costly remedial actions. Hence, the green infrastructure comes as a commitment on the part of Mexico that is not only a moral, but also a practical necessity to ensure the long-term viability of the corridor. The story of the environment in the corridor is a representation of the global conflict between the industry and nature. How Mexico weighs this will show other nations how to build infrastructures in a responsible manner. In the 21st century, as the corridor reshapes the environment and economy alike, it also reconfigures the geopolitical landscape, where trade routes intersect with global influence and strategic interests. Geopolitical implications. Mexico's ambitious corridor is more than an infrastructure project. It is a strategic catalyst, reshaping power balances and trade politics across multiple continents. Positioned between two oceans at one of the narrowest land bridges in the Americas, the corridor challenges established players like Panama and introduces an influential competitor in the control of maritime flows linking Asia, the Americas, and Europe. By effectively creating a land-based alternative to one of the world's most important waterways, Mexico elevates its position from transit nation to regional power broker, capable of influencing how and where global cargo move. The United States is watching closely. The corridor provides an alternate route for Asian imports, one that bypasses choke points and reduces reliance on long-standing bottlenecks. Faster transit times and more adaptable logistics align perfectly with U.S. goals to strengthen supply chain resilience and encourage nearshoring. As American industries diversify away from distant manufacturing hubs, the corridor offers the U.S. a strategically located partner capable of supporting these shifts. This cooperation strengthens North American economic integration under frameworks like the USMCA, while also giving the United States a more secure and predictable flow of goods. China, meanwhile, views the corridor through a different lens. Its Belt and Road Initiative has already extended deep into Latin America, but Mexico's corridor introduces a Western Hemisphere alternative that is less dependent on Chinese financing or oversight. While China could benefit from participating in the project through investments or port partnerships, the corridor's structure also challenges its influence by offering trade routes less tied to belt and road infrastructure. This creates a delicate balance, an opportunity for China to expand commerce, yet a competitive pressure point, reducing its regional dominance. Regional neighbors, especially Panama and Colombia, face immediate strategic consequences. Panama's canal has long been the linchpin of transoceanic trade, but congestion, toll increases, and climate-related water shortages have left shippers hungry for alternatives. Mexico's corridor presents a compelling option. If even a fraction of cargo shifts north, Panama risks losing both revenue and geopolitical weight, prompting a likely wave of modernization and competitive policy adjustments. These dynamics could strain regional diplomacy as nations compete for investment and trade flows in an increasingly contested logistics environment. Mexico's rising infrastructure capabilities also amplify its influence in trade negotiations. With a stronger hand in discussions on tariffs, customs standards, and multinational agreements, Mexico can reshape economic policies across the hemisphere. This newfound leverage enhances its role not only as a transit nation, but as a key architect of regional trade architecture. Beyond economics, the corridor raises substantial security considerations. Any major transit route becomes a target for illicit trafficking, cyber attacks, or geopolitical disruption. Mexico must balance the openness required for global commerce with new layers of security coordination. This will likely involve deeper defense and intelligence cooperation with the U.S. and other allies to protect rail lines, ports, and digital systems from interference. New alliances are already forming as governments and corporations recognize the corridor's potential to rewire supply chains. Partnerships with the U.S., Canada, and Asia-Pacific nations may deepen further, creating a network of shared logistical interests. At the same time, Mexico's independent management of the corridor reinforces its sovereignty, allowing it to negotiate from a position of increasing strength amid global power competition. Mexico's ability to balance economic ambition, geopolitical rivalry, and national interests in an increasingly connected world will determine the corridor's future, making the decisions made in its next phase more critical than ever. Future outlook and expansion plans. Mexico's interoceanic corridor remains in a fast-evolving phase, with expansion projects and technological upgrades already underway to maximize its long-term potential. As global trade patterns shift, Mexican authorities recognize that the corridor must not only operate efficiently today, but also adapt to the demands of future supply chains. A key priority is expanding capacity at both coastal terminals through new deep-water berths, upgraded cranes capable of handling the world's largest vessels, and enlarged storage yards. These improvements aim to accommodate rising freight volumes and support the growing trend of nearshoring, which brings production closer to North American markets. Rail infrastructure continues to be the backbone of the system, and major upgrades are planned to increase speed and reliability. Doubling sections of track to enable two-way train movement, enhancing signaling systems, and implementing automated traffic management will significantly boost throughput. Mexico is also investing in high-capacity locomotives designed for long-distance freight, reinforcing the corridor's ability to compete with major global logistics routes and better connect with North America's extensive rail network. Technology is another cornerstone of future development. Artificial intelligence is being deployed to optimize scheduling and maintenance, while blockchain-based logistics platforms are being tested to improve customs processes and cargo authentication. These digital tools mark a transition from traditional logistics to a more streamlined, data-driven model that increases transparency and reduces delays. As these systems mature, they will make the corridor more cost-efficient and predictable for shippers. Sustainability remains a central commitment. Plans include the electrification of rail lines, expanded use of renewable energy at ports, and the adoption of low-emission machinery to reduce environmental impact. Infrastructure design incorporates green features such as permeable pavement, wildlife crossings, and continuous environmental monitoring. Together, these measures align the project with global climate goals while supporting long-term operational resilience. The international investments are still the major factor that is expanding the economic footprint of the corridor. The governments and private firms in Asia, North America, and Europe are able to see the development of industrial parks, logistics hubs, and massive warehousing along the route as an investment opportunity. The regional economies are being diversified owing to such projects. Manufacturing potentials are being bled, and Mexico is getting more and more integrated into global production networks. Besides, this increasing interest is also strengthening geopolitical ties and positioning Mexico as a crucial point for intercontinental trade. To mention another aspect of the picture, the emerging maritime technologies are second to none. Mexico is examining the possible future use of automated ships, AI-driven port cranes, and drones for last-mile delivery operations. The Though the technologies are still at an experimental stage, they might really change the operating efficiency and put the corridor among the top logistics innovators in the world. Progress has been made, but at the same time, there are still challenges to face. Long-term planning and negotiations are necessary to coordinate the governance at different levels, to guarantee stable funding, and to find a balance between development and the needs of the community and the environment. Nevertheless, Mexico's dedication and the project's political significance signal that there is a lot of push behind the project. Over the years, the interoceanic corridor might change from being a project that serves the whole of Mexico to a project for the whole hemisphere when it comes to trade, linking Asia, North America, and South America at unparalleled speed and reliability. It is not only that the corridor is getting larger, but also that it becomes a striking symbol of how inspiring and thought-through infrastructure can lead to new patterns of commerce, regional cooperation, and global trade routes. Mexico's interoceanic corridor is more than a shipping route. It's a transformative force reshaping trade, economies, and geopolitics. Its ongoing expansion promises to deepen these impacts in the years ahead. If you found this exploration insightful, be sure to like and subscribe for more videos unpacking the world's most fascinating developments. And before you go, stick around and watch the next video that's waiting for you on screen. It's one you won't want to miss. Thanks for watching.